Going on, everybody? All right, how you guys doing? Welcome. We're talking about how to be a wife material. I have 8 qualities I want to share with you from a perspective of a man, of course. More importantly, a man of prestige. Okay, there's a ton of men of prestige out there. If you're not attracting them, we can talk. Okay, so if you're noticing that you're attracting the low bottom, what do you call them, of the society, either you're a man or woman. I think it's a good question to ask yourself. What is it about me that smells like God knows what? All right. So we're going to talk about how to be a wife material. So, like I said, I'm going to speak from a man's perspective, and I don't know if you should be assessing that from any other perspective because if you're here, more likely than not, you're a woman who is. If you're a woman that's here, you're looking to attract a man, right? Any other alternatives outside of that? I can't speak too much to that. Okay, just since I don't have any experience in that area. If you can hear me loud and clear, please do let me know. That would be nice. If not, I'm gonna have to just continue. Okay, how to be a wife material. What is a wife material, first of all? Well, before we get into that, I've got a couple of stories I wanted to share with you. Okay, I got a couple of stories. I have 8 qualities I'm gonna share with you, but I also have about 7 or 8 qualities I want to share with you. But I also have the story first of all to share with you. So I was having a conversation with one of my people yesterday, one of my clients yesterday, and he's a he. Yes, he's a he, and we were talking about the kind of women he's been having the conversations with, and let me just make sure that this is good to go right here. There you go. Aha. Let me button up a little bit. Aha. All right. So we're having a conversation about the kind of women he's been attracting, and he talked specifically about this one particular situation. And he said he told me that there are 4 different criteria. Hold on 1 second. Let me just get this right. He told me that there are 4 different criteria that he goes by to determine if to like he's looking out for 4 red flags. We were talking about red flags, right? So he said he was looking out for 4 different types of red flags. And I said, what are they? He said, well, first of all, I want to see how you talk to the people around you. So he talked about this particular one story that a young lady that he's seen freshly, and it was still, kind of like still in the, just considering it. And then he said it was the way she spoke to her own brother and her own mother that turned him off, you know. And that was basically that's all he needed to know, that this person wasn't a wife material. Shout out to Sak D Warren. Where am I from? Depends on what you mean. My accent or where I was born. Shout out to Sarah. Sarah is from Pakistan. Welcome. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. We're talking about how to be a wife material. Okay. All right. So he said basically the way she spoke to her own mother. So basically her brother used her car. Her brother just came to the United States, and then he had to get on his feet first, and then getting on his feet, he decided that he would use her car to go back and forth from work while he's trying to figure out his life. Thank you, Syra. Thank you for hitting the like button. I appreciate you. So he decided to hit the like button. Thank you, Syra. But he decided to use her car, and then basically the guy used the car, did not clean the car, and then she got upset that he's using the car and he would not basically clean the car. So he got very upset. No, she got upset. And then she told him, like, can't you just clean the car? Basically talked at her own elder brother. So where I'm from as a Nigerian, so you heard it. Where I'm from as a Nigerian, you have to you have to the way you talk to your elder brother matters. okay, from our culture, right? So that is a big deal. Shout out to A Marie. Say much love. I'm just going around showing smaller creators love, kindness, and respect. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right. So basically, the guy would not clean the car, and she was upset, and she talked disrespectfully to her elder brother. And then so the mother was calling in from Nigeria, and the mother was like, "Wait, do you mind? Can you take it easy on your elder brother?" And then she went on to tell her own mother to mind her business. Now, keep in mind, my guy is just on the outside of all of this, just looking in. And he's like, wait, that's how you talk to your mother and your elder brother? That was all it took for him to determine that that is not a wife material. Okay, that's all it took. Now, you could say, well, what about the context? What about what matters? Well, here's the thing, you just have to pay attention to context. You pay attention to context. There are certain culture that that's all they need. It's all that they need to see to determine if you are a wife material or not. So, a wife material, from a man perspective, is basically a woman who is worthy to be a wife, or a woman who has the qualities of a wife. What are the qualities of a wife? Depending on where you're from, depending on what culture you're talking about. But let's just talk about, for most parts, for the most part, anywhere in the world, there's um there's a certain there's certain things that you expect. One of the things you expect to from a wife is be a nurturer, right? Be a nurturer, regardless if she's a mother or she's capable of being a mother or not. You expect her to be the soft energy, the feminine energy in that romantic relationship. So we're talking about romantic relationship. Also, we're not talking about arranged marriages or anything like that. Okay, that's not what I am talking about, unfortunately. For those that are thinking they want to go back to 1960, we're not talking about arranged marriages. Okay, we're talking about boy meets girl, they court, and then they decide to get married together. That's what we're talking about. So, nurturer, being a nurturer will be one of the qualities of a wife. But a wife material is basically somebody who is not yet in reality a wife, but somebody who has the quality of a wife and can be a prospect for a competent man. Ladies, a competent man. Okay, I'm not talking about every man. Some men, they don't need to be husbands. Just because you're a man does not mean you're qualified to be a husband either. Okay. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's keep going. All right. So that's a wife. A wife is a nurturer, is a romantic lover, a friend, lover, homie, friend, but a nurturer, right? Somebody who can basically make a home if they find a competent man who can set the tone. Okay. So let me get through the first quality of a wife material. The first quality of a man for a wife material is that she actually desires to be a wife. I have to say that first before, because somebody's going to come here and say, but then not everyone is going to be a wife. Good, good. Then this session is not for that person. So we can get that out of the way, right? You're absolutely correct. Not everybody is going to be a wife. Not everybody is qualified to be a wife. Not everybody should be a wife. Okay. So first thing first, first quality of a wife material is that she actually desires to be a wife. Does that make sense? All right. That's number one. But before I get into number two, I have a second story, right? I have a client, another client. She's a lady now, right? And she's trying to figure out like what is it about me? Because she's attracted about three different men and they seem to put her on the back burner. In fact, one of the most recent situations, she thought she was getting ready to be a wife. She met a quality guy and everything, and then 3 months into the situation, she found out Nigerians in the diaspora. She found out that this guy actually has a whole family that he's actually raising. Now he called it, he was just doing it for paperwork and stuff like that, right? And then she was now wondering, like, wait, why do I keep attracting this kind of situation? Am I not wife material? So again, these are some of the stories that I'm encountering in the back end as a coach by my clients, and this is why I'm creating these videos. So you too can take advantage of it. If you're looking to talk to me, you can book a complimentary session. The link is in the description. So now she's asking, wife material, like, am I not why how is it that I'm not attracting men that are actually ready, that are quality? And it's a good question. It's a good place to start from. At least there's some accountability coming from that question, right? Good. So remember, number one, like I said, number one, she desires to be a wife. That's the number one quality of a wife material. If she does not desire to be a wife, gentlemen, don't try to convert her to a wife. It's not going to work. Okay. It might work temporarily. You might just be attractive enough. She might want something that you have, maybe money, maybe status, significance, just love, connection, maybe some sex. And then she might decide to follow your lead for a minute. But it's only a matter of time before you find out that she's not wife material. Okay, so don't try to converse her. She has to desire first. Number one. Number two, right, ladies, you want to be a wife material, you have to show up with some level of confidence, a decent level of confidence. Okay, if you don't, you're basically yielding to another human being's program. You have to be careful with that. You have to actually bring a certain level of self-esteem to the table. You have to be to a level. I understand you're a lady, and in our society, it's kind of okay to not be too sure of yourself, but there's a certain level of confidence that you bring to the table that is just simply sexy. Okay, and he will naturally want you to be a part of his life, not him. I'm talking about 9 out of 10 guys who want you to be a part of their lives. Okay, so we're not talking about just one person, one weirdo, and then you're wondering what happened to the rest of them. I'm talking about everybody you encounter and can potentially be a romantic lover would naturally want you to be a part of their life for a lifetime. It- Once you understand there's a certain level of confidence or self-esteem, so you can use that interchangeably that you bring to the table. So that's number two. Okay, that's the second quality that I want you to nurture, that I want you to a groom if you want to be a wife material. Okay. Number three, from a man's perspective, a wife material. Number three, I hit the. Make sure you're subscribed. By the way, if you're watching this, make sure you subscribe. Okay. The number three thing that you quality that a wife material would have is some form of structure in their lives. Okay, some form of structure. Like, listen, we know you're a woman, but you kind of have something you're busy with. Okay, you kind of have a life, right? You kind of like you, you wake up and you have a mission on any given day. Does that make sense? That is a quality that a typical man may not pinpoint. They're not always going to say, I'm looking for this, but just think about it. If you don't have anything you're about, you're probably gonna be clingy. Okay, you're probably like, oh, what you doing? What you doing? Like, that's for children, right? The wife material actually have a purpose. Okay, even if it's just a mini purpose, but something you're about on any given day, like a daily purpose, something you're about to go do, at least 5 days a week, potentially yes, even 7 days a week. Even if it's as simple as, oh, I'm about to take care of my sister's child. Let me call you back. Even if it's something like that, something that shows that you're not just winging life and just floating around, just sitting around watching Netflix all day long. A wife material have something they're about. Why? Because it actually can make a man feel safe. It will make them feel like you're not gonna be a burden. Feelings. He might not be able to tell you for fact what he's looking out for, but that is a big deal, something you should pay attention to. So, joblessness, you're jobless because you're a woman, because your wife might be just waiting to be a husband, especially in these times, in these modern times, is a no-no. You need to have something that you're about. All right. Let's keep it moving. So we have how many now? We have first quality, you actually have to desire to be a wife. Secondly, self-esteem, a healthy level of self-esteem. Well, if you don't have, if your self-esteem is low, you will attract some people, but they'll be low quality men. Okay. You will attract men for sure because it's not that hard to attract men. All right, good to know. Interesting. I have a session coming up. Okay. All right, so let me round this up quickly. So, number, so like I said, the other thing have some kind of structure. Okay. Number, number. I guess this is number four. Okay, number four. Um, you you don't have to be an extrovert. Okay, you don't have to be an extrovert, but you have to be a little bit, to some level, you have to be social. You don't have to be a socialite. You don't have to be at every party every weekend, okay? But you have to show some level of social, not intelligence particularly, but you have to be social, okay? You have to be not all the way outgoing, but you have to show that you are able to say hello to people, say hi, say good to see you. Like, what's your name? Like just a little bit of something. You're not awkward. You're not socially awkward. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for, right? If you're socially awkward, a lot of people will not want to be a part of that for a lifetime. Again, you could be an introvert, but you know how to socialize to some level. You don't have to be like all out there and just making us like everybody is your friend. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay. But let's say, for example, you go out to a party, your boyfriend is saying hello to people, and then before we know it, you catch your feelings because you feel isolated. Things like that. It's probably a good sign that you're not a wife material, because you have to a large extent, you have to be self-sustainable. Okay, you have to be self-sustainable, to, to a decent extent. Okay, so I understand that women is a little bit of a different standard, double standard. There's not much is expected from you, but you just need to understand that that's a thing. Okay, so confidence, like I said, self-esteem, that's number two. Number three, you need to have some kind of structure in your life. Maybe that structure came from your father, right? Maybe it came from some kind of other masculine figure in your life, but the man kind of need to see some element of that. He can bring structure. He's responsible for bringing structure into your relationship. But as a person, you should have some level of structure in your life. You cannot just be all over the place and be calling at 2 a.m. in the morning and say, "What you doing?" "I'm sleeping. I got work in the morning." We're talking about wife materials. Don't forget. Okay. All right. So another thing, the fifth, what do we have? Also, we have desire, number one, self-esteem, number two, um, number three, we have some structure in your life. Then number four, you cannot be socially awkward. So whatever that, flip it to the other side. You need to be a little bit social, and I'm not talking about social intelligence. Okay, you need to be social. Social intelligence is being able to understand social things. Being able to understanding is different from being social. Okay, so pardon me while we're winging it now, but just think about all this as we're going along. Okay, let me see. Saktiwa say, what is your mother tongue? Mother tongue. My mother tongue is Yoruba language. All right, so let me see. Let me number this stuff so because I'm losing track of numbers and I got a session coming up. So we just did number four, which is social. So let's go to number five. There you go. Number five. A wife material is it's something that it's a person that makes a man feel like he can take you out. Okay, so slightly different from social, but he feels like he doesn't mind being seen in public with you. This has nothing to, okay, maybe a little bit, but it's not so much about your looks. It's about how you conduct yourself, how you carry yourself. Okay, there are certain people that are very pretty, but you don't want to be seen with them in public, if you know what I mean. Okay, because they're lousy, they're loud, they smacking gum in their mouth every second. There's no poise to it, right? So you need to carry yourself in a way that you can be seen in public in a professional setting. Okay, you don't have to be professional all the way, but there are some people too. They overdo dressing up. Everything is has to be super colorful, right? We're talking about a wife material right now. You don't want to enter a room and it's just way too loud, right? You want to enter a room and you do want to command certain attention, but there's certain types of attention that a man doesn't want you commanding. So knowing how to dress is a big deal in this, right? There's certain dressing that you dress that actually gets certain types of attention. You wear skimpy stuff, right? Somebody might say, "Hey, what about cleavage?" I was like, "Wait, it depends on what the cleavage look like. There's some cleavage that we don't need to see. There's some cleavage that are actually tasteful, right? Now that depends on what. That also depends on context, what kind of environment you're in, right? So you have to know how to read a room. What kind of event are we going to? So if you don't know how to read a room, right? Obviously, a man will feel less than bringing you along to certain events. He will feel he needs to be able to feel he needs to feel like you're adding value to his life. Okay, so if he takes you out or you end up in the same spot or anything like that, he likes the idea that you're around him. It makes him feel even more significant, right? Because that's a basic human need, right? So if you notice that every time, like it looks like, oh, you're pretty, all you want to do is smash. Like if you notice that the people you're attracting, all they want to do is just smash. You need to pay attention to the way you're showing up, right? That means they would like to enjoy a little of time with you in private, but not in public, right? So what does it mean for a man when you're around them in public? Does it make him feel more significant? Does it elevate his status? Right? See, it's a little bit different from when you're handbag for a man, right? It's a little bit different. It's more like, hey, you're actually a very important part of who he is now, even just as a date, right? He enters into a room, into a restaurant, he feels like a king because he has you, right? Not because he needs you to validate him, but that's just the kind of aura that you carry. That's a wife material. What makes you think that he wouldn't want that to be repeated over and over and over and over again? Does that make sense? So that's key. All right. So significance, you know, is basically being able to read a room, right? So maybe that will fall under social intelligence. Now, in terms of what you can do from your side to foster more of that, right? So you have to be able to read a room. You have to, how do you carry yourself? Okay. The way you carry yourself. I'll make it about I don't want to make it because this is something that will make him feel like his status is elevated among his peers, among his group, among in his church. Has he invited you to church? Right? If he's a church boy, right? Has he invited you to the barbecue at his family home? If you notice that people that are you're dating are not inviting you to events like that, that means they rather just have a good time with you in private. Not a one off. I'm talking about if you notice a consistent thing, right? So I'm trying to look for the qualities you will carry that can foster this a little bit more. Let's just call it being able to, let's call it social intelligence. Okay. Let's call it so because social intelligence is a big part of what we teach here anyway. All right. So being able to read a room, being able to catch a cue, to be able to say, hey, um, do I elevate the average man that I'm attracting, like in terms of in public, right? So I just say the social cues. There you go, social cues. Okay, social cues with respect to status. Okay, social cues, social status cues. I put it social status cues. It's a lot of S in what we're talking about, right? Now, a wife material, 7 out of 10 guys you're attracting feels a level of connection. Even when you don't like them, you have to basically ghost them, get rid of them. And it's not about your looks, it's just something about you. There's an aura you carry, something like that. They can't even pinpoint it. At that point in time, you know you have. So, what can you do about that? The only thing you can do about that is continue to work on yourself, self development. Okay. So, a wife material is actively engaged in self development. Why? Because an average human being, they're not engaged in, you know, an average man, they're not engaged in self development. They're looking for clues. They're browsing, they're just scrolling through the internet. They get bored very quickly. That's an average human being. So go figure. So if you want to be very hot in this sexual or dating marketplace, then self-development, okay, that will have direct effect on the ability of other people to connect with you at a level that they don't really understand, but they just want to be a part of your world. They want you to be a part of their world for the rest of their lives. Okay, so self-development, self-improvement, especially in this time and age where the society is deteriorating at serious speed, right? So go figure. All right, so because of the same result, I'm going to make that number 6. Okay, number 6. Number 7. Okay, by the way, that also creates some level of growth. That's a way forward. But let's go to number 7. Number 7, this is the trigger part. You do bring something to the table. So I'm not a big fan of people going on a date and asking, what do you bring to the table, right? That's different. That's a man that's not sure of himself who is asking, what do you bring to the table? That's a man who is not. But I'm talking about you now, knowing that you bring something to the table and knowing and being confident that you do bring something to the table is a big deal in terms of equality of being a wife. Okay, that does not mean you should make it okay for people to be asking you randomly, what do you bring to the table? You need to, the quality of man you will attract will not feel the need to ask you that because it will be obvious that you bring something to the table already. It'll be super obvious. Again, these are qualities they may not be able to pinpoint, but it'll be obvious that you bring something to the table already. Okay. All right. So, what do you bring to the table? Can you, if somebody asks you right now, do you know how to answer that? Right? Do you know how to answer that? Right? Do you have your seductive ways of answering that without getting defensive? If a man comes to you and say, "Hey, what do you bring to the table?" If you don't know how to answer that, you need to figure out how to answer that without getting defensive. The average woman who is actively dating will actually get defensive. I do push against men who ask that question because it's a sign that a man doesn't know what he's doing if he needs to ask that question. But that's a different conversation, right? But as a woman, you need to prepare yourself because you have to understand that a lot of people are in these dating scenes and they know too much, right? They know way too much to save themselves. Most people, because of social media, people are exposed to too much information. What does that become? Fear. It becomes fear. So if you see, you might see a quality man who might actually think, if he hasn't engaged me here, would think he's actually doing himself a favor asking that question. Do you know how to disarm his fear? Or even, is that even your responsibility to disarm his fear? That's not necessarily your responsibility to disarm his fear. Why would you want to engage in that, right? But anyway, let's just say somebody that you really like, because when you really like a person, you give them excuses. right? As opposed to looking for the red flags. If you really like that person, you give them excuses, you let them slide. Okay. But what do you bring to the table? What does he feel? Does an average man, for you, 7 out of 10 men that you attract, do they feel like you bring something to the table? Right? Do they feel like, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow? It has nothing to do with your career, by the way. Okay, a lot of it has to do with your soft skills, especially I'm talking to you as a lady now. A lot of it has to do with your soft skills. If you don't know how to talk to a man, that's going to be a problem. Okay. If you don't mean to be disrespectful, but 7 out of 10 men are receiving you as disrespectful, that's problems. Hold on, let me make sure that this is, yeah, that's going to be problems. Okay. Problem with regards to what? Being a wife material. You're not being a wife material for yourself. There are going to be men that will look at you and say, this is a wife material. Not all men, but 7 out of 10 men can look at you and say, you know what? At minimum, they're saying that's somebody's wife. Even if they're not sexually or physically attracted to you, they just know. They know that they know that they know. So those are 7 qualities I shared with you. Number one, you have to desire to be a wife. Number two, you have to keep working on your self-esteem, and you have to have a healthy level of self-esteem. That will be self-sustainable. Number three, you have to have some level of structure in your life. Yes, you're a woman. I understand you're a feminine woman, but nonetheless, hopefully you have a father figure, somebody who has shown you structure, a job, military, I don't know. You need to have some level of structure to your life. Number four, social. You have to be a little bit social. You have to be a little bit more exciting than just being a robot. Robots are not attractive. Machines are not attractive. Okay. So you have to be, you can't be socially awkward. Okay. So pay attention to that. That will be a wife material. Number five. Okay. You have to know how to pay attention to social cues that can actually affect how a man feels in terms of, does your presence elevate his status, significance in society among his peers, in a professional setting, even in a social setting, there's a certain way you carry yourself that will make him feel like, I don't mind taking this person out from time to time, okay? And he has very little to do with your looks. Like I said, looks is part of it though. Let's not get it twisted. Number six, a wife material is actively engaged in self-development. I didn't say therapy, okay? I didn't say therapy. Okay, that's a different conversation. Self-development, okay? Just because you can turn and say, yeah, I'm on therapy, does not mean anything, okay? Especially now that everybody is saying that. So calm down. Self-development, okay? Self-development. You have like your little rituals that you take care of your mental status and also growth on a regular basis. When I say regular basis, I'm saying even more than once a day. Okay. Number seven, you have to bring something to the table. That's not the same thing as somebody asking you what you bring to the table. It needs to be obvious to the right competent man. All right. So if you want my help, you want me to help you, first of all, hit the like button, subscribe, share this with other people. But also, there's a link to my calendar. You can book a time in the description. And then, because I'm generalizing, I want to get to know your specific story to see if there's a fit and see if we can help you. So you can book a free consultation with the link in the description. Hopefully, you've been enlightened, educated. If you're watching this as a replay, if you're a replay gang, let me know that you're a replay gang. I gotta go now. I got a session coming up. Talk soon. Bye now.